I'm Lieutenant Colonel Conway Jackson. I am the battalion commander of the Conway High School Army JROTC. I'm pleased to welcome you to our 19th annual Conway High School Veterans Day ceremony presented to you by JROTC. We would especially like to welcome all of our honored guests who have served or are currently serving our country in the armed forces. This year, we want to dedicate this assembly to our Conway High School faculty and students who have served or are currently serving. The President stated in his Veterans Day proclamation, "This day and every day, we pay tribute to America's sons and daughters who have answered our country's call. We recognize the sacrifice of those who have been part of the finest fighting force the world has ever known, and the loved ones who stand beside them. We will never forget the heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice and all those who have not yet returned home. As a grateful nation, let us show our appreciation by honoring all our veterans and working to ensure the promise of America is within reach of all who have protected it." Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and remain standing for the presentation of the colors by the Conway High School JROTC Color Guard, the Pledge of Allegiance, and the singing of the national anthem by the Conway High School Choir, and finally the posting of the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's light what so proudly hailed the twilight that's gleaming, whose much bright and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the free waters so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red upon thirsty air gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, great does that star-spangled banner yet for the land of the brave.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. I'm Cadet Major Sarah McGee. I'm the Battalion Executive Officer of the Conway High School Army JROTC Battalion. Veterans Day in the United States is a legal holiday dedicated to American veterans of all wars and will be observed today, November 11th. Many people confuse Veterans Day with Memorial Day. Both holidays were established to recognize and honor the men and women who have worn the uniform of the United States Armed Forces. Memorial Day, which occurs in May, is a solemn occasion set aside for remembering and honoring military personnel who died in the service of their country, particularly those who died in battle or because of wounds sustained in battle. While those who died in battle are also remembered on Veterans Day, Veterans Day is an occasion to thank and honor those who served honorably in the military, whether in war or peace. In fact, Veterans Day is largely intended to thank living veterans for their service, to acknowledge the appreciation we feel for their contributions to our national security, and to underscore the fact that all those who served, not only those who died, have sacrificed and fulfilled their duty. In 1918, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, an armistice or temporary cessation of hostilities was declared between the Allied forces and Germany in World War I, then known as the Great War. Commemorated in many countries as Armistice Day, the following year, November 11th, became a federal holiday in the United States. Following World War II and the Korean War, Armistice Day became known as Veterans Day. Great Britain, France, Australia, and Canada also commemorate the veterans of the World War I and II on or near November 11th. Canada celebrates Remembrance Day, while Great Britain observes Remembrance Sunday, the second Sunday of November. In Europe, Great Britain, and the Commonwealth countries, it is common to observe 2 minutes of silence at 11 a.m. every November 11th. President Theodore Roosevelt stated in 1906, "Veterans, by their lives, by the record of their deeds, teach us in more practical fashion than it can be taught by preaching, for they teach us by practice, that in the ultimate analysis, the greatness of the nation is to be measured not by the output of its industrial products, but by the products of its citizenship, by the men and women that a nation produces." We would like to recognize our Conway High School staff and faculty for their service to our nation. Ms. Carol Clausen, who teaches environmental science, served as a diesel mechanic on active duty in the Oklahoma Army National Guard from 1993 to 2001. Her highest rank attained was Specialist 4th class. Mr. Daniel Magnan, World History and AP European History, enlisted in the Army National Guard and later in the commission. He served from 1990 to 2011. He served 2 combat tours in Iraq, one in 2003 and the second in 2008. He also deployed on several humanitarian missions, the most notable being to New Orleans and to assist with the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina in 2000. Please join me in recognizing these 2 outstanding individuals who are still serving our country and thank them for their service.
At this time, I would like for the following students to please come onto the stage. Carrick Parker, Manuel Phillips, Tyson Osborne, Ashton Martinez. Today, these outstanding young men will take the oath of enlistment into their respective branches of service. Today, less than 1% of our population served in the U.S. Armed Forces. I believe the fact that these young people are willing to make the sacrifices and face the potential dangers of ensuring our freedom says a lot about their character and values. Today, Carrot Parker, Manuel Phillips, Tyson Osborne will each be enlisting into components of the United States Army, and Ashton Martinez will be enlisting into the United States Marine Corps. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Support and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Lower your arms. Congratulations.
Good morning. I'm Cadet Command Sergeant Major Mariah Fuller. Who are these veterans that we honor today? They are our friends, family, and faculty. They are part of our Conway High School family. They come to us from all over the country, and they represent all colors and creeds. They have served in peacetime and in war. There are a lot of stereotypes that exist regarding military veterans in the United States. Unfortunately, many of these stereotypes have been created and are driven by what people see in the media, movies, and the internet. Fewer and fewer Americans have served in the military. In World War II, 11.2% of the nation served. During the Vietnam War, 4.3% served during the 12 years of that war. Since 2001, only 0.45% of the U.S. population has served during the global war on terrorism. Not only does this mean that fewer people have served in the military, but it also means that fewer people know someone who has served in the military. Military service to some seems to be something that only desperate people resort to joining. Worse, they seem to believe that those who serve are warmongers, violent individuals who are bloodthirsty and want to invade foreign countries. Contrary to what many of these people believe, military members have absolutely no say in where they are deployed. This means that a person may enlist during wartime and be deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, or another place. They're deployed based on the needs of the service and the country. Most service members, especially those with combat experience, absolutely love combat. While they may be skilled and combat effective, they absolutely does not mean they enjoy the horrors of battle. They do not want to spend more time away from their loved ones or put their lives in jeopardy, but they are willing to do so to ensure our safety and freedoms. It is not the military that decides whether they go to war or not. It is the president in his or her role as commander-in-chief. The president can send troops into combat anytime he or she feels necessary. They must notify Congress within 48 hours of such a commitment. Civilian oversight of the military is one of the hallmarks of American government. In short, veterans are one of the single most diverse groups in the United States of America. Not only are they made up of men and women from various socioeconomic backgrounds, ethnicities, races, and religions, they are also an intergenerational group, one with distinct lives, experience, and truth. They realize the population will never fully realize or truly understand what veterans have done for them, but they do it anyway. That makes them part of a truly elite group of Americans.
At this time, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Charles Finkenbinder, City Attorney for the City of Conway and a veteran of the United States Army. Mr. Finkenbinder served in the United States Army from 1986 to 1990. He was assigned to the 6th Infantry Division and is a proud veteran. He is married to his best friend, Trina Finkenbinder, and has a son, Charles, who is a member of our JRTC battalion. Mr. Finkenbinder loves his job and enjoys being with young people and doing whatever he can to make a difference in their lives. Please welcome Mr. Finkenbinder.
Good morning. America is one of the greatest empires that's ever existed in human history. But America is different than every other empire that's ever existed in human history. How is that so? Every empire that came before America, every great power, existed for war. They sought to conquer other peoples and countries and expand their territory, and they did so through war, usually through a professional standing army. That was their goal. Right? America doesn't have colonies. America doesn't use its military or its armed forces to conquer other peoples. What does America use its strength for? And to answer that question, you have to answer this, or consider this: what is a warrior? In most cases throughout history, a warrior is someone who woke up as a warrior, lived a day as a warrior, went to bed as a warrior. They thought only of war, that was the goal: conquest, victory over other peoples. An American warrior is different, and always has been. American warriors are citizens. American warriors are dentists, cooks, nurses, teachers. America never sought war. America always tried to avoid war and only went to war when it was necessary. When you look at the reasons why Americans have been deployed to other places, you can see the truth of what I'm saying. America is alone in the nations of the world to deploy soldiers to ensure that hungry peoples are fed. America has deployed its forces to ensure that free elections are held, not to conquer, but to make sure that the people in those places have a right to vote, have a right to determine their own destiny. Those are American wars. And when the war is done, that they were so reluctantly dragged into, what do? They go back to their lives, to their families, to being dentists and truck drivers and mechanics and lawyers. America has become a protector of the weak, of the innocent, of the helpless. We may not have asked for this role, but I believe that it has been granted to us as a task because of our blessed role and nature in the world. Growing up as a young person like you, I recognized very early on how fortunate I was to be born in the United States. It's almost like winning the lottery. I didn't do anything to deserve to be born in the greatest country that's ever existed, the most free land that's ever existed, with the most opportunity and safety. I didn't do anything to deserve that. And so I wondered, how can I pay that back? There's no other country that I wouldn't want to visit, but there's no other country I want to live in. So I thought, how can I pay this back? And my choice, and I believe many of yours, was to pay that back through defending the country I was lucky enough to be born in. Now, it is a dangerous world, and it is a hard world. In many ways, the world that you are growing up in is much more difficult than the one I grew up in. You faced challenges that I did not face. As some of the speakers before me have alluded to, military service is declining, meaning there are less and less people willing to be American warriors. But that does not mean that the threat to this country has diminished likewise. In fact, it's gotten greater, right? Terrorists, dictators in Asia, Europe, South America, all over the globe. These are places that are not free. These are places where people cannot speak their mind without fear of disappearing. These are places that would make war on their neighbors to take what they have. These are places who would harm others for bad reasons, which makes the role of American warriors that much more important. Because as we look around the world, the earth, the planet, there are fewer and fewer countries who are willing to take a stand. But America has never been one of those countries. And America will never be one of those countries. Now, there are those who would slink away in times of danger. Being a soldier is not always easy. The commercials might make it look so, but it's not. There are times when you will be cold, hungry, and tired. There will be times when you question your commitment to be an American warrior, to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. And I believe that you will draw on the strength that has put you in these seats this morning, has caused you to put on these uniforms and discharge your duty because you live in the greatest country in the world, the greatest country that has ever existed. There are those who run away in times of trouble. There are those who avoid the fight. There are those who do not have the fortitude to withstand the cold and the hunger and the absences from home. They will be safe, but they will never be warriors. And I leave you with this. As I look over this crowd of young people, I can tell you what I see. I see American warriors. Thank you.
On behalf of the Wampus Cat Battalion, I would like to thank all of you for being here today, for helping us remember and honor the members of our school family who have served or is currently serving each of us in our nation. They represent the very best of us. Veterans Day is dedicated to those extraordinary Americans who so willingly put their lives on the line to protect our freedoms. While our veterans did not and do not serve for our gratitude, it is important to thank them for all they have done. As you have seen today, as students, we are surrounded by veterans here at Conway High School. It would be a terrible mistake if we did not remember the families of our veterans, without whose support their service would have been much more difficult. While our veterans are away defending our freedoms, their families are left behind to carry on in their absence. The spouses of our veterans are left behind to both mother and father in carrying out the daily task of keeping a family together and functioning. Their children are faced with forced separations that can last months or even a year or more without truly understanding why. They have prayed for an email, a text, a phone call, or a letter from their deployed parent. Likewise, they fear that dreaded knock at the door or the after-hours phone call that brings tragic news of their loved ones. Their sacrifice is just as real as the veteran they love. We have all stood and cheered our troops as they return from Iraq or Afghanistan. But then we go about our lives as the yellow ribbons fade to white. The military families remain to stand strong with the veteran as they begin the difficult process returning to a normal life. On this Veterans Day, it is important to remember the words of President John F. Kennedy, who said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." Please enjoy the remainder of your day and keep our veterans and their families in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today, and you all are dismissed.
Have safety.